I think our society is in a way, and I'm saying even though I myself personally am a scientist, is overly scientific, and things are real if they're proven, demonstrated scientifically. And I find it a non-productive and even suspicious path in ayahuasca, that there's all sorts of scientific theories being raised. You wrote me a letter asking, before we've met, but what I think of the link between DMT and DNA. This was a theory was suggested by actually a good friend of mine, Jeremy Narby, is if the ayahuasca makes one seize the DNA. I don't want to get into this, but I buy nothing of this, that it's if what's happening is real biology or another kind of biology deep down or another more profound physics. Science is just one line of human genius. A second line is, as I'm trying to emphasize, is art. I'll tell you an anecdote that I took ayahuasca alone at home. She was about to leave Israel for a sabbatical. And I had whatever remained in a bottle, and I didn't want to leave it. So I took it myself with a friend of mine, not taking it, but sitting for me. And in order not to inconvenience my friend, I did it in the late afternoon rather than usually I do it at night. It was my living room. It was about 5:30 in the afternoon, and I saw my piano. I've been playing the piano since I was a kid of 7 years old. I play poorly, but I like to play. And I've played only classical music and never improvising, always from the sheet. If I would play and the sheet would take, I wouldn't be able to go on. So I saw the piano, and it occurred to me that so many times in Amazon, I was wondering what would happen if I would play. It's the only instrument I know how to play, the piano. But again, I play very mediocre. So I asked my friend to lift me up. I could hardly walk, so he moved me to sit by the piano, and I began playing. All told, I played between 40 and 50 minutes. I began, it was late afternoon. By the time I ended, it was dark. In the room, there was no lightning, and it was after sunset. Began playing, and I know my technical level with the piano. And I was playing in a virtuoso manner, much above my normal level of piano playing. And I felt there was kind of, you'd say, a force or what, telling me just go on, because there was no music. And at one point, I could no longer see the keys. I just went on composing. And my friend, who didn't take anything, he wept. He said that never in his life has he heard such music, that it was kind of a story of a life of a person. And I personally felt that after 40 years of playing this instrument, I really got my first real piano lesson. And I could not be able now to go to a piano playing this on this level. But yes, indeed, since then, I can sit by the piano, and without the scores in front of my eyes, I can improvise. It won't be that level, but something open up in me. So that's the creativity. When the tape was being changed, you asked me about the divine, so I would like to respond to them. I said, the different manifestations of the human genius, I would say, the genius, science, art, culture, but also religion. I'll say some things, although I feel this touches upon a personal dimension that I prefer to not to say everything I have to say about it. If you ask me, what as a person, not as an intellectual, not as a researcher, what was the main effect ayahuasca had upon me and my personal life? It's that it opened the doors, or perhaps the windows, the gates of the sacred to me. I knew about religion before, but I'd never had a religious experience before ayahuasca. And since then, I've had it many, many times. And in my worldview, I reformulated it so as to make room there. You use the word divine, I use it at times too. I would prefer to use the word sacred because it's an adjective and not a noun, and it has less of ontological connotations. Yes, I've become spiritual or religious or attuned to this holy in my own way. Now, how a person, or a culture for that matter, interprets what's the divine, that's one key line of all human history. And different cultures and different individuals have made different senses. What's the divine and what's the sacred? Both because I'm a Western philosopher and because I'm Jewish, which I think is one of the more abstract religions in the wide spectrum of world religions. In Judaism, there are no entities. There are no semi-divine, I use a semi-divine term, because like Jesus Christ, or the Virgin Mary, they're half human, part godly. The notion of the divine Judaism is very, very abstract. There's just one God and only God. Now, it's not clear. Ancient in Hebrew means messenger. I was brought up in modern Israel in a completely secular family, but since ayahuasca, the notion of religiosity, I wouldn't say the divine, but conceptualizations of the divine involved me greatly. Actually, I'm planning this book that I've mentioned is a cognitive psychology book. I'm now writing a book on a general psychological theory of consciousness, but I've written quite a bit of a fourth book, which would be the philosophical ramifications of the ayahuasca experience, in which I would allow myself to be more personal and also more speculative. So, yes, indeed, ayahuasca has led me to the realms of the divine. But this does not mean, for me, that there is an ontology which is God. There is a old gentleman with white beard above there. Or what is the divine is a huge question. Perhaps the divine is the essence of the candle, of the flame of life that we all have. The essence, the root of our being human. That's a whole, but I don't want to get into that. But I just want to say that I feel that one can be religious and spiritually minded without necessarily believing in another ontology, neither in God as a figure, nor not in spirit. There is a, I feel, unfortunate etymological coincidence in the English language that the word spiritual, meaning a person is not just materialistic, but he's open-minded spiritual. And the word spirit, in the sense that these things floating around come from the same root, linguistic root. But it need not necessarily be the case. You can, I feel, one can be spiritually minded without endorsing the ontological existence of spirits. You know.